The next guy we're going to talk to worked with President Obama and ruined everything. Joining us now is Adam Conover. He's the host of Adam Ruins Everything on HBO Max. And now his new show on Netflix, The G Word. Adam, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Cenk.
No problem. So Adam, what's The G Word?
So The G Word is a new comedy documentary series that I created and host, all about the incredible ways the US government affects our lives in ways that you might find surprising, both good and very, very bad.
Indeed. In fact, there's some controversy because you did it with Barack Obama, his production company, and you covered things that Obama didn't do well. We're gonna get to that in a second. But since it's about the government, I want everybody to make sure that they know that it's actually a super fun show. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys a part of the trailer here so you can see it for yourself. Let's watch.
Our government is supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people. So shouldn't we, the people, understand what the hell it actually does? Government is practically a dirty word in America. And if you don't believe me, try bringing it up on Thanksgiving. We're gonna investigate all the ways, good and bad, the government affects our lives.
Hello, is it question time?
I have some concerns. 1 out of every 16 workers in America is employed by the federal government. They shape every aspect of our lives.
Welcome to the GPS Operations Center.
So the entire GPS constellation is run by these 10 people.
How old are you? 20 years old.
Okay. When I was 20 years old, I was a dumbass, man. I couldn't have been doing this. Do you trust the government?
We're a superpower, the biggest, baddest motherfucker in the world.
The more I learn, the more questions I have.
All right, now I have some questions. Okay, so let's start with hurricanes. What did you learn about hurricanes from our government?
So what I didn't realize until we started researching this show and until I did it myself is that every time that you are watching the Weather Channel or any other weather broadcaster during hurricane season, you see that cyclone off the coast of Florida and it says, here's where the hurricane is going. The only reason they have that data to begin with is that while you are watching a hurricane hunter plane from either the Air Force or NOAA, that's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is flying through the hurricane, directly through it, and then flying out the other end, going back and turning around and doing it again over and over again. And then when that plane lands, another plane takes off and does the same thing. And the reason they do that is that's the only way to get a precise fix on where the exact center of the hurricane is and to get ground truth on all the atmospheric conditions. And on the show, we tagged along with them and flew into a hurricane. We actually had to do it twice because the first time the footage didn't turn out so well. One of the most nauseating shooting experiences I've ever had, but really incredible.
So they fly through hurricanes all the time and nobody gets killed? That's kind of incredible.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. It's amazing what these planes can put up with. They have to be turboprop planes because jet engines, will fail inside a storm that size. But the government's been doing it since about the 40s. They've never lost a plane. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have thrown up. They have a stack of barf bags this big on these planes. But yeah, I mean, there are literal people working for our federal government who that is their job. And we also went to speak to the folks at the National Hurricane Center who then analyze that data and make the recommendations that everyone follows, when to tell a governor when they need to evacuate an area and et cetera. So the purpose of this show is to show all of these functions the government performs that we don't normally think of, but that really make life in America possible, and to maybe make us ask, hey, if we actually empowered the government to take care of us in other ways, what else could it do?
Okay, so the minute I'm having a conversation about we have to fly this kind of engine through the hurricane because the other kind of engine would have us crash and all die, I'm out. But okay, but I'm glad to hear that there's government officials willing to take that risk. So Adam, what were some of the things that you learned that you didn't know the government did, where you thought, does everybody know this? Like if the whole country knew this, they might actually respect the government a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest example of this is GPS. I didn't know until one of our researchers in our writer's room brought it to me that Our entire GPS service is run and was invented by the US government. It took them 50 years to develop the technology, to launch all the satellites, to miniaturize it, and to finally open it up to the public. And it's one of the most transformational inventions of my lifetime. And it generates $1.4 trillion for the economy every year. Countless businesses like Apple, Google, Uber, Tinder have been built on the back of it. But those companies tend to take the credit, right? Google tends to take the credit for Google Maps when the truth is, if it weren't for massive taxpayer investment, that wouldn't exist to begin with. And it makes you ask, like, maybe these companies shouldn't work so hard to get out of paying their taxes, right? If it's actually us, the public, who have made them possible in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have had Google in the first place if Al Gore hadn't invented the internet, so that they should be doubly thankful. No, but seriously, guys, Adam is 100% right. The government also did basically invent the internet, not Al Gore, but the government. The government invents most of the patents that we know that the drug companies then take credit for. And Adam, now let's talk about the criticism of the government, because that's one. We never profit from all the things that the government invents because our politicians, in my opinion, are totally corrupt. And so they go, oh yeah, let's take the taxpayer money and let's spend it on that, and then let Google and Pfizer and et cetera make billions off of it.
Well, here's the way I'd put it. What the government is in the business of doing is creating public goods that everybody benefits from, right? So the GPS satellite, everybody gets to use the GPS satellite constellation. Everybody gets to use the weather data that the federal government puts out. It's not just hurricanes. Literally every single forecast that you see originates from one of the National Weather Service research outposts that are across the country. And they provide that data to everybody for free. You go to weather.gov, you can either see a forecast for your area, or you can download 2 terabytes of raw weather data and use it to start your own weather network, right? And that's good. And there are companies that have built businesses off of that data. That is also good. That's not necessarily a problem. The problem is when those companies then use that power to try to disembowel, to try to hurt the federal government, which for instance, AccuWeather is doing. As we cover on the show, the private weather company AccuWeather has lobbied the government to try to make it impossible for the National Weather Service to communicate with the public so that they're the only ones who have access to all of that public weather data. And that's really bad. But I don't think we need to say, hey, the government should profit necessarily. The government shouldn't be ripped off by the companies. The government shouldn't be undermined by the companies. But the government should be in the business of creating things that are public goods that all of us get to use, that no one else can create, that no one else can do. Biomedical research is another one. The NIH, the world's largest funder of biomedical research, that's incredibly important and powerful. Now, I don't think that they should give licenses for that research to private companies so that they can use them exclusively. That's the kind of corruption you're talking about. Instead, they should open it up as a public good to everyone. And that is what the government on its best days does. And that's what only the government can do.
Yeah, and the problem with the government is the politicians. Everybody else is fine. Like all those workers inventing things like GPS and cures that save our lives. But then the corrupt politicians take that and then go, here, companies, you take it. No, we're not gonna charge you for it. Private banks, you're all bankrupt in 2008. We're gonna bail you out. And then when you're back to profitable, you don't owe us any money. Well, if a private institution bailed them out, they would own them. So that's a long story. And by the way, Obama did that wrong too. Now, look, obviously people are gonna say it's Obama's production company that you did this with. Were you guys, it's called Higher Ground, were you guys biased in favor of him? So I know you did the segment on drone strikes. I'll be honest, I haven't watched that one. So I'm curious what you covered in it, because there is a lot of criticism that you can give Obama for drone strikes.
Oh, absolutely. And so look, this show came about because Barack Obama's production company had licensed, optioned Michael Lewis's book, The Fifth Risk, which was a book I quite admired. They were looking for someone to make a television show based off of it. I said, hey, I have a pitch. what if I do it? And they liked the idea. Now, I made really clear to them when we started that this show would have to be editorially independent from the Obama administration or from any part of his political operation, because otherwise it wouldn't be credible to the audience. It would be clearly propaganda. And they agreed and went along with that. And there were times I had to remind them of that over the course of the making of the show. But the fact of the matter is we were granted editorial independence on this show. And for that reason, there are a lot of topics that we do on this show that are not what Barack Obama might have written himself were he writing the scripts. And so specifically, yeah, we talk about the drone strike program, about how drone strikes rose tenfold under Barack Obama, and about how, more importantly, they served as a moral hazard, that because it suddenly was possible to send do an airborne attack mission overseas without risking an American life, we started ordering those more and more often, and the cost was thousands of civilian lives. I know that Barack Obama does not agree with our segment, and we did it anyway. So if that is not proof that we had editorial independence, I don't know what is. There are other things that we talked about, the neoliberal turn in healthcare, and his emphasis on solving healthcare via private businesses rather than through a public option. There's a couple of other examples throughout the show. We also had a somewhat prickly interview that I did with him in episode 6 that I hope folks will check out, because I'm quite proud that I feel I was able to sort of engage him in a real conversation rather than the sort of sound bites that we normally hear.
Yeah, look, the government does a lot of wonderful things, but like I said earlier, it also has politicians. So, and Obama did a lot of good things, and he did a lot of bad things. And so those drone strikes, not only did they go up by tenfold, but he also killed American citizens, and he killed American citizens without asking any judges. So that's an extrajudicial assassination of Americans. It was abhorrent. And yeah, he might have a different point of view on it, but he's wrong. He shouldn't have done it, and it is really dangerous. And of course, Trump came in and said, "Thank you for opening the door," and then did a lot more bombings. So I love that you kept it honest, and I like that there's a show that actually explains what the government does. No one ever does that. So everybody check out the G Word. It's on Netflix. Adam Conover. Thank you, brother. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Cenk. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.